video is covered by fair use. Daddy, the newspaper's here.
Thanks, Kid Slayer. You go off and play. And no making the SJWs cry, okay? A nice, relaxing morning with my coffee and the newspaper. Hang around. What the fuck? First up, let me apologise for how long it's been since my last video. I've just been sick as a dog and haven't been able to get 9 words out in a row without coughing my ass off. So there's my excuses. Read into it what you will and we'll go from there. Now, this is a subject that's quite close to my heart as somebody with a 15-year-old son who lives with his mother, who I've had limited contact with over the last 15 years. Once he'd started school, we were limited to just school holidays and such because he lives a fair distance away from me. And in fact, I've not had very much contact with over the last year as his mother's stopped him seeing me because we've had a difference of opinion. We'll go through this article piece by piece and I'll let you know what I think.
The agony of being a 50-50 mum. Women once held the upper hand in custody battles. Now fathers are winning equal access and mothers are struggling to cope.
I'm sure they are. Missing out on the things that your children do is one of the most difficult things that you'll ever experience in your life. However, as we'll see in this article goes on, the slant towards mothers' feelings and how they seem to think that they are more important than the father's feelings, and completely disregard the children really, is a little bit disturbing.
Every mother lives for those small joyful moments when her child masters something new. A book once too challenging, the telling of a joke previously stumbled over, a food devoured that has formerly been rejected.
As I said, it's absolutely shit missing out on these things. But fathers miss these things too, as do brothers and sisters who don't live together anymore because of families splitting up the way they do these days. But they're just things we have to cope with and we have to get on with as adults.
For it is these gentle minutiae of a little one's life that really see their budding personalities grow. Imagine then the agonising pain of being privy to your child's life for only half the time.
I'd love to have been privy to my child's life for only half the time. Unfortunately, I've been privy to my child's life for only about 6 weeks out of the year. And I didn't see anybody writing articles about how unfair that was to me. Or, for that fact, him.
The milestones missed, the lost cuddles before bedtime, the long nights spent wondering if they are sleeping sweetly or crying for mummy.
Or for daddy. I don't know if anybody's told these women this, but the children, they actually love both their parents the same. They're really not bothered about your bullshit.
This is the reality for Britain's growing legion of 50-50 mothers who divide their time with their children equally with their exes. It's a growing phenomenon that on the surface might seem the fairest way for separated parents to organise their lives.
On the surface it might seem the fairest, sure, but I mean, fairest for who? Fairest for the children? Certainly not fairest for the mothers. I mean, they've been able to monopolise the children's time for like 90% of their lives previously, and now they have to share that time with the fathers. This legion of women being so oppressed by this. What will they do? They're just in agony over it. Absolute agony.
But it comes at an emotional price for the mothers involved, and the consequences for the children are yet untold.
Oh, the emotional price for these women. I mean, never mind the fathers who for years been restricted to one weekend out of every month that they may get to spend with their children if the mother bothers to let them see them at all. And this impact it may have on the children that we don't know about yet, as opposed to the one that we do know about, where actual legions of children are being raised all across this country without any input from male figures at all. And that's worked out so well. We don't have a generation of children that have no respect or discipline at all. I mean, it's been an absolute utopia, the system that we've been under before, because at least mothers haven't had to have an emotional price paid by them.
Veronica Sweeney Bird is one such mother who wishes more than anything that her two little girls were having a more relaxed and stable childhood. Instead, every other Thursday, she drops one off at nursery and one off at primary school, full of foreboding as she kisses them goodbye.
Foreboding. That's right. Fucking foreboding that the children are going to go and spend time with their dad. My fucking God. How does she deal with it?
A week-on, week-off shared care arrangement with her ex-husband is the high price Veronica has to pay for her broken marriage. And 2 years on from the split, she still struggles to cope with the moment she says goodbye to her girls for 7 long days.
7 whole days? Because, I mean, that's a massive amount of time compared to fathers who don't get to see their children for a month at a time, or even more, and sometimes don't get to see them at all, because these women stop them seeing them because they're upset at how they broke up, as if that's something to do with the relationship that men have with their children. This is fucking pathetic. Who fucking wrote this shit?
I so hate being a 50-50 mother, says the 33-year-old bar worker from Tunbridge Wells, who was married for 7 years. When it's not my week to have the children, I have to try and switch off from being a mum, and it's so very hard. To distract myself from the pain, I throw myself into work, working all the hours I can to keep me occupied.
Oh, the pain that she feels. I mean, she has to go to work in the bar and throw herself into it to keep herself occupied because of the giant hole in her life, just like the one the dad has for the 7 days while the kids live with her. Not a mention, though. Not a fucking mention.
When they're not here, I daren't even go into the girls' room, because just seeing all their clothes and toys is very painful. I know I'll just dissolve into tears and won't be able to function. Veronica only ventures into their room the night before they are due home to tidy up and get ready for their return.
Well, my kids would have to tidy up before they left. Just saying.
I know they're coming back, so I feel more excited than upset. I can handle it, she says. Although her ex-husband lives just a 10-minute walk away, relations are strained, and there is little contact between them apart from the court-ordered FaceTime conversations that her daughters, Ziva 5 and Tali 3, every other day while they are away with him.
Perhaps if you hadn't acted like children when you were arranging this, you would have got a better outcome, and maybe you wouldn't have to rely on court-ordered FaceTime, which just sounds like the most pathetic thing in the world. Perhaps if you and your ex could come to an arrangement where you were civil to each other instead of jumping up and down and stamping your feet about how the other one's not getting this, that and the other during your time, and thought about the children instead of your fucking selves for a change, you might actually get somewhere. Fucking pathetic. And of course, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old aren't necessarily going to want to speak to you at the times arranged by a court, because that's what 5-year-olds and 3-year-olds are like.
Even that is hard, because Ziva doesn't like talking on the phone, and I can't force her, says Veronica. Although she trusts her ex-husband implicitly with the care of her girls.
Their girls, not fucking her girls. This is just the shit that is always spewed from these women. My daughter, not our daughter. Trying to claim ownership of the child over the other partner. Trying to make out that they're so much more important in the lives of these children than the fathers are. It's just fucking ridiculous. Children need both parents. That's why we have two sexes that have different experiences and different expertises to raise children.
The lack of easy communication means she knows little of what they do in their time apart. More than this, decisions about their care are often made that are out of her control. I once went to pick up the girls on my Thursday and was shocked to see that he had taken them to their hairdressers without telling me, says Veronica. Tali's hair had just grown long enough to tie into ponytails, and now it was too short to tie up. I was devastated.
Devastated? Were you really devastated over the length of her fucking hair? Well, I'll tell you what, my ex took my son out of school without any consultation with me whatsoever. She just decided she was going to homeschool him. I was fucking devastated because that was something fucking important, not a hair that's going to fucking grow back, you retarded woman.
On Mother's Day this year, Veronica wasn't even able to speak to the girls, as it didn't fall on her court-appointed FaceTime day. Something, she says, she found utterly heartbreaking.
I bet it was. It would have really upset me too. And I think the father's a bit of a pathetic twat for not sorting it out so that she got to see them, speak to them, or at least something on Mother's Day. But again, perhaps if you could all act like fucking adults and take the children into account, you'd be able to do these things in a normal way without her sitting at home on Mother's Day getting all upset and him sitting at home with the children who were also upset because they didn't get to speak to the mother on Mother's Day. It's just fucking retarded.
And recently, her ex informed her that Ziva would be going to an after-school judo class every Wednesday, which encroaches on her own week with the girls. Ziva really enjoys it, so that's okay, says Veronica. But I don't like not being part of the discussion to decide what activities my own children are going to take part in.
No, me either, love. Nor do the millions and millions of fathers across this country who get no say in any of this shit ever. Grow the fuck up.
When you have children, you want to have a say in every element of their upbringing. But in my situation, that's impossible. Such emotionally grilling arrangements over childcare are becoming increasingly common.
Good, I'm glad they're becoming increasingly common. They should be increasingly common. I can't wait for the day when all custody arrangements are done this way.
While official figures suggest that only 3% of separated parents share their children's time equally.
3%. You're fucking moaning about 3%, and you're saying that's increasingly common. It's increasingly common over 2%, maybe, but it's hardly a massive amount of people that are getting fairness out of this system, is it?
Experts say this is a gross underestimate, because many arrangements are unofficial and so unrecorded.
I'm just going to channel Tilda here and say, citation please. Which experts? Where? Who said it? You don't provide any of that. Thanks.
More and more couples are agreeing to split care of their children without any intervention by the courts, according to Jane Robbery, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Family Mediation, an organisation that conducts over 30,000 mediations a year between separating couples. 10 years ago, shared care wasn't really an option, says Jane.
Because poor oppressed women wouldn't fucking allow it. That's why. They'd got the system where they wanted it and they were going to keep it there for as long as possible. And now that there's a little bit of reasonable contact with fathers being arranged, these people want to fucking cry and whinge about it. Honestly, it's fucking pathetic. You're not any different to the fathers. You should both be treated equally. It's just that fucking simple.
And there is a cultural shift towards fathers taking an active role in their children's upbringing. So many men are saying they want to be involved in the day-to-day parental care.
Hang on, haven't women been moaning about this for years? Oh no, that's right. They didn't want them to take part in the day-to-day care of the children. They just wanted them to pay for it. I see.
Jane, however, warns that trying to be fair to both adults can be damaging for the children. It can be very hard for them, as they have to live in different homes and move from place to place continually, and that can make them feel unsettled and unhappy.
Citation, please.
There may come a time when they just won't want to go,
or there may come a time where they want to live with the father permanently. Don't suppose that's ever occurred to any of you, has it?
Or they'll start playing one parent off against the other.
Just like they do when the parents live together.
When deciding on arrangements post-split, all this has to be considered. Shared care has to work in favour of the children and has to focus on their needs, not those of the parents.
Something that parents, both male and female, need to understand when negotiating these arrangements for their children. It's not about you, it's about the kids. Not that the author of this article seems to fucking realise that.
There are many potential permeations of shared care, some more difficult to bear for the mother than others.
And we're back to the mother's feelings again. Not the children, and certainly not the fathers.
It can mean a 50-50 week-on, week-off arrangement, like Veronica's splitting the week, with 3 or 4 days for each parent, or one parent having the children during the week and the other every weekend. Nicola Hewitt, who split from her 42-year-old police officer husband Dan in 2011 after 10 years of marriage, faces the trauma of being without her children, Devon 10 and Sonny 8, every weekend. Instead, she must make do with being a midweek parent.
And no doubt you're going to tell us now why this traumatising experience is so bad and how it's still really unfair on her.
It made sense because my ex lives half an hour's drive away and it wasn't near school, so the weekends worked better all round, says Nicola, 42, an office manager from Kenley, Surrey. But I really miss the children being in the house. I miss putting them to bed and hearing Sonny say, "I love you," as I walk down the stairs.
Which the father obviously doesn't feel on the nights that he doesn't get to see the children, because, I mean, he's a man. Why would he?
I sit in the house at weekends, deafened by the silence, hankering after their company and feeling like bits of me are missing. After all, when you're married, you do everything with your partner, and everything is centred around the children. Then suddenly it ends, and you're ousted from your normal life. It took me 2 years to get my head round it.
I'm honestly having to try very hard for all my responses to these comments to not be wow, 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 because that's all it fucking sounds like, frankly. These people are so fucking self-absorbed.
At first she coped by filling the house as best she could, focusing on her work, her 5 dogs, 3 of which she got after her husband left, and going running. But the void remains. It is lonely on special days like Mother's Day or my birthday when they're not with me, and I just try to power through the day, says Nicola. Holidays are hard too. 3 years ago their father took them to Florida for Christmas, for 2 weeks, which they loved of course, but I couldn't stop crying when they came through at the airport. It was far too long to be away from them.
This woman sounds like she begrudges the children the experience that they got that Christmas. I mean, it was far too long for her to be away from them. I mean, while they were away having all that fun with her dad, do you think they even fucking noticed she wasn't there?
While Nicola knows her ex is a good father, there are often sticking points when it comes to their styles of parenting. I am very outdoorsy, so the kids are often muddy and not in their best clothes, whereas he likes them to be ultra clean and dressed nicely. She says, "I believe kids should be a bit grubby and fit."
I honestly don't see where the sticking point would be. You do what you want when you have the children, and he does what he wants when he has the children. And the children learn that there are different ways of living, that some people are outdoorsy people and some people are indoorsy people, that some people dress like tramps and some people don't. I don't see where your problem is. You seem to be dreaming them up out of thin air.
She is left to cope with the trials of the school and working week, whereas her partner gets to enjoy the more relaxed weekends. I get the worst of them, as he has them when they're not tired, whereas I get their grumpy sides and have to nag them to do homework.
Oh no, she has to do some actual fucking parenting. What a shame.
Nicola believes the children have adjusted well to this setup and enjoy having 2 separate lives. But even after 2 years of having their mother only part-time, there are still signs of neediness. Sonny often plays up when he gets home from his father's after the weekend, she confesses, and is a lot more clingy and attention-seeking.
Because he's missed you, fucking retard. It's a good thing. The problem is that all you want to do is you want to look at this and say, woe is me, how bad does this make my life? And you turn everything into a fucking negative. You're just ridiculous. This woman just is stupid beyond belief.
But I know they feel secure in love because my ex and I have a good relationship and can communicate easily, and the kids know their routine well, says Nicola. And that's the key, according to Jane Robbery. Communication, she says, is the key to a good shared care arrangement. It is often a problem with warring couples who can't put their personal differences aside. Shared parenting has to be about focusing on the children's needs, and it works best when the parents aren't playing silly games with the children caught in the middle.
Or shouting woe is me into the wind constantly. Feeling like you're being hard done by. It's not about you, it's about your children. It is about them having a balanced relationship with both of their parents, and not you monopolising their time and bitching and moaning about every second you don't get to spend with them.
It's also beneficial if parents live close to each other, so they can maintain the children's routine to give them a sense of belonging. It's important that kids are not being shuttled around the country or feeling isolated in one parent's house away from everything they know. It's not about the parents' rights, but the children. It was this relentless focus on the child that Charlotte Dickinson tried to maintain when she separated from her partner of 10 years 12 months ago. Charlotte split care of their 5-year-old daughter Jessica with her ex-partner who lives just over the road. He has her 3 It was a joint decision to split up, and there was no animosity, so it made the shared care a lot easier, admits the 38-year-old teaching assistant from Cardiff. But it took time to adjust. On the days when Jessica was gone, the house was so quiet. In the middle of the night, she'd often crawl into my bed, and when she wasn't there, I struggled to sleep.
Well, firstly, it's entirely unhealthy for a child to be getting into bed with their parents. They need to learn to sleep on their own. And secondly, the fact that you seem to need to use your child as a comfort blanket says an awful lot more about you than the words that you're using.
Charlotte soon developed coping mechanisms for the lonely nights when her little girl was away. I ended up getting a cat, she says, as it was nice to have something else to come home to. And I started cooking meals for the freezer, so I wouldn't have to cook when Jessica was here and could devote more time to her.
Well, I'm glad that replacing your child with a cat seemed to work for you. Honestly, how much is this about you and not your child?
I also took up running, going for a long run each of the nights Jessica was with her dad, and made arrangements with friends.
Oh no, the agony, the dehumanisation of having to have a social life and being able to go for a run on your own without having to worry about sorting out childcare. How fucking bad is your life?
Although they do differ in their parenting styles, I'm a soft touch while my ex is more disciplined, says Charlotte. She believes Jessica benefits from the continuity of contact with both parents. It's very hard to be apart from her, but she loves her dad and enjoys spending time with both of us. She has 2 sets of toys and her own bedroom at both our places, and it seems to have adjusted well to the new setup. It is this maturity of attitude that more separating couples need to adopt, says relation counsellor Denise Knowles, or children will undoubtedly suffer. As children grow up, they become less needy of us, but in these shared care situations, the loss becomes acute from an early age. While it can be heartbreaking, you just have to make the most of the time you're with your child, see your time apart as time off, and use it to focus on your own interests.
Just like the dads have had to do for years, only for much, much longer periods of time.
Eventually, we all feel the loss of our children as they grow up into teenagers and leave home, and we end up having to re-find our purpose aside from being parents. This is a chance to do this a little earlier. Veronica Sweeney Bird, though, is yet to adopt this sunny attitude. I know the girls have to see their dad, but at the end of the day, I'm a mother who has to somehow learn to stop being a mother for half of my life, she says. I'm not sure I can ever come to terms with that. I don't know many mothers who could.
But, of course, all of the fathers that she knows find it absolutely astonishingly easy. They just breeze by without a second thought about their children when they're not there, don't they? I literally couldn't believe it the first time I read this article. The angle that it's written from, as though fathers have no feelings for their children whatsoever, and that only mothers struggle with these things, is absolutely ridiculous. The person that wrote this must live with their head well and truly rammed up their own arse, if that's what they think. And I hope that they never have the misfortune of having children that they then have to share with a partner that they no longer love. Men have been considered second-class citizens in custody agreements for years, and it's about time some more parity was brought to the system. Children obviously need the input of two parents. It's how we're biologically designed. It's how we're sociologically designed. There are still many, many ways that men are discriminated against in these cases. Women, for instance, are absolutely fine to go and lie on birth certificates about who the father is, whether they know or not. And in fact, men across the world are paying for children that don't belong to them because they didn't reply to a court summons in time or some other ridiculous reason. We need to get parity in this system. We need to make sure that it is the children that are being looked after first and foremost. And we need to stop fucking whining about how hard it is for women to cope with. Good grief, man up.
What are you doing in a baseball bat? I can't get you. Why are you doing that?